Welcome to It's Good to Be Smart. I'm your host, Dr. Dave Mulder. I love to learn new things, and I hope you do too, because it's good to be smart. Before we get started, just a warning, this episode might erupt with information, so try not to blow your top. I was going to start with a serious introduction, but then I thought, why not just vent? I promise this episode is going to be lovely. And if it's not, you can tell me my jokes are an absolute crater-tastrophe. Okay, enough with the terrible puns. Let me tell you about two volcanoes. The first one is loud, violent, and explosive. In 1980, Mount St. Helens in Washington state had been rumbling for weeks. The ground was shaking, pressure was building underground. Then, on May 18, everything gave way. The volcano erupted sideways, blasting ash, rock, and gas miles into the sky. Forests were flattened. The landscape was completely changed in minutes. It was one of the most powerful eruptions in U.S. history. Now let's travel to Hawaii to meet Kilauea. This volcano also erupts molten rock from deep inside the earth, but its style is completely different. Instead of exploding, Kilauea oozes. Slow rivers of glowing lava flow steadily across the land, like hot syrup pouring out of a bottle. It's still dangerous, but much calmer and more predictable. So here's today's mystery. Why does one volcano explode like a shaken soda can, while another just slowly pours out like pancake syrup? Same planet, same basic idea, very different results. In this episode, we're going to figure out why. At its simplest, a volcano is an opening in Earth's crust where melted rock, gases, and heat escape from deep inside the planet. Think of it like a crack in a giant pressure cooker. Inside that cooker is magma, melted rock beneath the surface. Once it erupts, we call it lava. Same material, just a change in location. Inside the Earth, we call it magma. Out on the surface of the crust, it's lava. Volcanoes are one of the main ways Earth releases energy from its hot interior. Or you might say, Earth just needs to vent sometimes. To understand volcanoes, we need to go underground. Let's remember what we've already learned about the structure of the Earth. Earth has layers. The crust is on the outside where we live. The mantle is the next layer inside the crust. It's hot, thick, and slowly moving. The core is made up of a liquid outer core and a solid inner core, and both are extremely hot and dense. Most magma forms in the mantle, where temperatures are high enough to melt rock. And remember that Earth's crust is broken into moving pieces called tectonic plates. These plates sort of float on top of the mantle. It's important to keep in mind that these plates don't just sit still. They move, collide, and pull apart. And where they interact? That's where volcanoes often form. Volcanoes are most common in three places. Divergent boundaries are usually in the middle of oceans, like the Mid-Atlantic Ridge in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Here, plates move apart, and magma rises, forming a line of undersea volcanoes. Convergent boundaries are often at the edges of continents, where an ocean plate dives underneath a continental plate. As the plates collide, one melts into magma, which makes volcanoes develop on the continental plate. Hotspots are the really interesting case because they occur in the middle of a plate. Here, heat rises from deep inside Earth, causing a bubbling up of magma that melts through the crust like a blowtorch. And this is why some volcanoes behave so differently. Mount St. Helens sits near a convergent plate boundary. Kilauea sits on a hotspot. Different settings, different outcomes. Now we can solve our mystery. Why explosive versus gentle eruptions? It comes down to three key things: gas, pressure, and magma thickness. Magma contains dissolved gases like water vapor and carbon dioxide, and these gases make a big difference between the different kinds of eruptions. Think about a soda bottle. If you open it slowly, gas escapes gently. But if you shake it first, you get an explosion. And now imagine that happening underground. If magma is thick and sticky, gas gets trapped, pressure builds, and eventually, boom. That's what happened at Mount St. Helens. But if magma is thinner and runny, gas escapes easily. No huge pressure buildup, just steady lava flow. That's Kilauea. Same basic ingredients, but very different behavior. These differences create different volcano shapes. Shield volcanoes like Kilauea have wide, gently sloping shapes. They're formed by slower flowing lava. Stratovolcanoes, like Mount St. Helens, have tall, steep shapes, and they're famous for their explosive eruptions. Cinder cones are a third, smaller type of volcano built from volcanic ash and cinders. That's where their name comes from. They're similar to stratovolcanoes, but smaller, and they usually have very well-defined craters at the top. Probably the volcano you picture in your head if I say, "Picture a volcano in your head," is a cinder cone. Each type gives us clues about what's happening underground, the amount of dissolved gases, the thickness of the magma, and the amount of pressure behind the eruption. Geologists study these patterns because, well, they love a good mystery. So, let's pause and bring it together. Volcanoes are openings where magma escapes. Magma becomes lava at the surface. Volcanoes form near plate boundaries and hotspots. Their eruption style depends on gas, pressure, and magma thickness. Thick magma traps gas, which leads to explosive eruptions. Thinner magma releases gas, which leads to gentler flows. Volcanoes aren't random. They follow predictable patterns. Now, based on what we've learned so far, you might be wondering whether volcanoes are connected to earthquakes. And the answer? Yes, they often are. When magma moves around underground, it can crack rock and cause earthquakes. And when tectonic plates shift, they can create pathways for magma to rise to the surface. So earthquakes and volcanoes are often part of the same system. They're basically Earth's way of saying, something big is happening down here. Now, volcanoes might seem destructive, but they also help build and shape our planet. They create new land. They release gases into the atmosphere. They recycle materials from deep inside the Earth. Even entire islands like Hawaii exist because of volcanic activity. Without volcanoes, Earth wouldn't be the same dynamic, ever-changing place. So let's wrap up by revisiting our big question for this episode. Why do some volcanoes explode while others ooze? It all depends on what's happening beneath the surface. How much gas is trapped, how much pressure builds, and how thick the magma is. Here's your takeaway I want you to remember. Volcanoes are Earth's pressure valves, releasing heat and material from deep below, and the way they erupt depends on how easily that pressure can escape. So next time you see a volcano, remember, it's not just a mountain, it's a window into the powerful forces shaping the planet. And sometimes those forces really know how to blow their top. Thanks for joining me for this episode, and nice work leveling up your brain power today. Remember, smart isn't something you are, it's something we become as we're learning. So keep listening, keep learning, and keep getting smarter every day. It's Good to Be Smart is created and produced by me, Dr. Dave Mulder, with the support of the National Science Foundation through the Robert Noyce Teacher Scholarship Program. Subscribe to this feed so you'll never miss an episode. And check out our home on the web, goodtobesmart.com. Until next time, keep asking questions, stay curious, and keep learning, because it's good to be smart.